And welcome to Healthcare Sucks, the totally relaxed, kicking back shirt, totally relaxed, kicking back hat, and totally relaxed, kicking back Healthcare Sucks. That's me. All joking aside, I want you to hear this. We've always been told it's just the older people that are dying. Well, not now. Listen to this.
Meanwhile, Ortega Smith and Santiago Abascal of the far-right Vox Party have tested positive. The party announced all lawmakers would work remotely. In France, the government ordered restaurants, bars, and movie theaters shut down. Half the coronavirus patients in critical condition in France are under the age of 60. Austria's banned gatherings of more than 5 people, as well as set a curfew enforced by fine.
Half the patients are under 60, guys. Does that not make everything they've been telling us? Excuse me, I'm adjusting the camera. A bunch of hooey. Half of the patients are under 60. I think that blows it out of the water for those guys that are blaming it just on older people. So if you have kids and you're not half the age of 60 or whatever, or in that half of the people that are under the age of 60, let's say, be careful, guys. You can still get it.
Germany and Denmark are closing their borders. Meanwhile, in Britain, the government of Prime Minister Boris Johnson is under fire for limiting its recommendation to self-isolate to people over the age of 70. Britain's chief science advisor also suggested letting a certain number of people get infected to build, quote, herd immunity. But government officials backed away from the comments, saying it was not the official policy. Ireland has closed all pubs and bars days before St. Patrick's Day celebrations. In Iran, the death toll has topped 720 with nearly 14,000 for confirmed cases. In the past 24 hours, at least 100 people have died in Iran. An official said many of those who died were otherwise healthy. Around 15% of the fatalities were under 40 years of age. Lebanon is embarking on a 2-week lockdown, closing its airport and borders and ordering people to stay in their homes. South Africa has declared a national disaster as COVID-19 takes a foothold on the African continent. Kenya said it was closing its border to all non-residents to curb the spread of the disease. At least 26 African countries are now reporting cases. In Latin America, Colombia and Panama are blocking entry for non-residents and citizens and requiring those re-entering the country to self-isolate for 2 weeks. Guatemala announced the first coronavirus death over the weekend. The 85-year-old man entered the country through Madrid last month. In mainland China, where the coronavirus first emerged but has steadily declined in recent days, 16 new cases and 14 new deaths were reported Sunday. There are now more confirmed infections outside mainland China than inside. China's offered to help countries, including Iran, Iraq, and Italy, deal with their outbreaks. Meanwhile, the youth climate strike known as Fridays for Future has moved to a digital strike. Swedish 17-year-old teen activist Greta Thunberg, who started the weekly strike, tweeted, quote, "School strike week 82. In a crisis, we change our behavior and adapt to the new circumstances for the greater good of society." Here in the United States, coronavirus cases have now topped 3,600, though the true number of cases remains unknown, expected to be thousands more due to extremely limited testing. The actual number, again, expected to be far higher. President Trump held a news conference Sunday.
Relax. We're doing great. It all will pass.
Relax. It all will pass, he said. Minutes later at the same news conference, Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and top member of Trump's coronavirus task force, contradicted the president.
As I've said many times, and I'll repeat it, the worst is yet ahead for us.
President Trump had stepped out of the room at that point. Trump declared a national emergency Friday after intense backlash to his response to the pandemic and the devastating shortage of tests. A reporter asked Trump if he accepted responsibility for the lag in testing.
No, I don't take responsibility at all because we were given a set of circumstances and we were given rules, regulations, and specifications from a different time.
A reporter told NPR Trump did not push for testing earlier on because he wanted to keep the official case numbers low. During his remarks Friday, which Trump delivered in the Rose Garden, Trump repeatedly shook hands with officials and touched the microphone more than 30 times. In the early hours of Saturday, the House of Representatives passed an emergency coronavirus bill that was intended to help infected workers by mandating paid sick leave. But the bill only guarantees paid leave to around 20% of American workers. The bill does not apply to companies with 500 or more employees and workplaces with fewer than 50 workers.
So that's what I'm talking about with the U.S. is it's a bunch of hooey right now going on. And I'm not trying to pick on the president or any one person, but like this was supposed to cover our people. No. And it doesn't cover the people who are sick, disabled, low income, the people who can't afford, to not go get stuff that's on sale and stuff. The people that live off of basically the markdowns and the left behinds that other people don't want because we, the people, don't have enough money. We're not making enough money. And even a lot of people who are out there, they're taking and paying a third to half of their checks every month to taxes. So again, they need to postpone all debts. They need to issue immediately cards. And if they're going to start limited things in the market like we've seen earlier today, they need to get the National Guard out with trucks and start dropping big amounts of food in neighborhoods and getting it into the homes. I'm not talking some little bitty basket. I'm talking a grocery cart full of food per person, per household, guys. Or let's just give everybody $1,000 on a card. Straight out. They can afford to do it. I don't want to hear no more about they can't. And about postponing rents, debts. If France can do it, France of all places can do it, then the U.S. can do it. We're number one with all this bahooey stuff going on. We're number one to start taking care. Remember that the last man left behind and the undesirable ones or whatever it was, one thing and another, it doesn't matter. The point is we were supposedly that person or those people. Well, I'm kind of feeling left behind right now. And I'm kind of feeling like, where is the government to take care of us, guys? So when you have some time, if you have some time and you can get them to pick the phone up, feel free to call the governor. And another weird thing in Oregon, she was going to shut down the bars tonight. And then Governoress Brown, to put it politely, again, this is what's wrong with this person. She can't think. She doesn't have the equipment upstairs to make these hardcore decisions and the right decisions for Oregon. Here she turns around and says she's going to lock everything down. Then a few hours later, oh no, I've had a second thought on it. I'm not going to lock things down now. I mean, what the hell? You're a governor. You don't step up to the mic and start something and then turn around a few hours later because you get input from, the councils, city councilmen, your fellow other people in the government to say, no, don't do it. And so you just turn around and even though it'd be better to do something, you change your mind and don't do it. I mean, so there's a lot of stupid things going on. Before we move forward with this, I want to move back to the start with
and
this.
request a hardship exemption. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Today, an extended coronavirus global roundup. The coronavirus pandemic death toll has topped 6,500 deaths, with about 170,000 confirmed cases worldwide. At least 77,000 people have now recovered from the disease, though some reports suggest it has had...
Don't you believe it? I'm telling you right now, guys, don't you believe it? And a lot of those people are supposedly in China. Again, if they've recovered, we know why.
Lasting health impacts, and that reinfection is possible. Sweeping measures are being rolled out across Europe, which is now considered the epicenter of COVID-19.
And you just heard reinfections are possible. That's what we're hearing. And then little squiggly guy, Fettuccine boy, whatever, from the Trump team, oh, you can't get it again. So the thing of it is you can get it again.
Coronavirus. Italy remains on lockdown as it reported 368 new deaths Sunday, bringing its death toll to over 1,800. The Vatican announced...
That's a lot of deaths, guy. I mean, 300 and some overnight. That's like ridiculous. You can't tell me this is not a crisis. I mean, I'm personally tired of them tamping it down. So they think they can save the stock market. The stock market's crashing, guys. No matter what. If you got it in there, like I talked a few weeks ago, if you can afford to, pull it out. If not, you got to roll the dice. And I really feel for people that have it in there. Again, you were manipulated by people that run your money and your resources like Enron did. Everybody remembers Enron. This could turn out to be 10 times worse than Enron. Well, I guess you can't get worse than Enron. So let's just say it could be as bad as Enron and leave it at that.
It'll close Holy Week celebrations to the public. Spain is... 1 million New York City students and their families will be affected. New York now has the highest number of coronavirus cases in the country, with at least 730 infections and 6 deaths. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said the state has some 3,000 intensive care unit beds, that's ICU beds, and that 80% are currently occupied. At least 7 states, including New York, Illinois, Massachusetts, and Ohio, are closing bars and restaurants to eat in business. But
okay, so there's 3,000, 80% are full. Okay, that's like, let's just say 2,600 critical patients. And I don't think they've talked about 2,600 critical patients the whole time we've been talking, guys. So what does that tell you? Outbreak.
Most will remain open for delivery or takeout for now. Major retail chains, including Walmart, Kroger, and Trader Joe's, are restricting shopping hours. Apple closed all its stores outside Greater China this weekend. Nike's also closing U.S. stores, and Disney is closing all hotels and retail stores. Whole Foods CEO John Mackey is under fire after he sent out an email to workers saying workers could donate accumulated paid time off to fellow workers with medical emergencies or a death in the family during the pandemic. In Los Angeles, all jury trials are reportedly being suspended, and all new criminal and civil trials are being put off for at least 30 days. The murder trial of real estate heir Robert Durst will be postponed. In Colorado, the state legislature has shut down. The Peace Corps is suspending its operations and evacuating its volunteers around the world. In media news, the Associated Press had to temporarily shut down its D.C. office after a staffer came into contact with a possible coronavirus patient. 6 CBS workers have tested positive for the coronavirus, and Vox closed its offices after a worker tested positive. The aviation industry has taken a major hit. American Airlines said it would cut international flights by 75% and U.S. flights by 20% through May. Delta Airlines announced a system-wide 40% capacity cut and plans to ground up to 300 planes. President Trump added the UK and Ireland to the coronavirus European travel ban into the United States over the weekend. People returning home from overseas in recent days were made to wait hours for medical screening tests at airports, in some cases in overcrowded spaces. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker tweeted, quote, "The crowds and lines at O'Hare are unacceptable and need to be addressed immediately. Real Donald Trump, VP, since this is the only communication medium you pay attention to, you need to do something now. These crowds are waiting to get through customs, which is under federal jurisdiction." Pritzker added, "The federal government needs to get its bleep together now." Governor Pritzker said Sunday a Trump staffer called and yelled at him for the tweets. Meanwhile, 2 emergency room doctors, one in New Jersey, one in Washington state, are in critical condition, raising more fears for those delivering frontline services. The Chinese experience supports the fear that healthcare workers are at particularly high risk. In other medical news, scientists at Johns Hopkins Hospital are about to announce they're developing a treatment option involving blood serum from recovered patients, which could be just weeks away. In Puerto Rico, Governor Wanda Vasquez signed an executive order shutting down most businesses and imposing a 9 p.m. curfew on the island. Restaurants that offer delivery or takeout, pharmacies, gas stations, and banks will be spared. In financial news, the Federal Reserve cut the interest rate to near zero, plunging Dow futures by 1,000 points Sunday, triggering a limit down, which prevents stocks from dropping further. The Fed also says it'll...
So, that's where one of my sons is, Puerto Rico, and I guess it's pretty chaotic over there. That's what I heard. The other thing is, real quick, is with this Fed thing and them shutting it down, doesn't anybody get... We should have got the memo a long time ago. I did. I got it a long time ago. That the Feds, this is all hot air. They're gambling on nothing when the money is worthless, guys. We don't have enough gold to back the dollars. We know we don't. I mean, the stock market is the biggest joke of fiction in our lives, guys. It is. And if nothing else, if it crashes and burns, I have to say again, for the people that have their 401ks and other things, I truly do feel bad that they were scammed. And, you know, the ones I would personally like to see take the hit is the ones that have been rolling and making dough the whole time the president's been in there for the last 3 years. And, you know, I put to you, they're so far up right now, even on this, they've still got money stashed in their beds. And other places. Offshore, get it? Let's see what else is going on, and then I got something else I'm going to run for you
inject
guys.
money into the markets by buying $700 billion in bonds. Trump congratulated the Fed on the move Sunday, saying it made him very happy. A federal judge has blocked a Trump rule that would have thrown 700,000 people off of food stamps, known as SNAP, or the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. The rule would have required affected recipients to work at least 20 hours a week in order to qualify for food stamps beyond the first 3 months. U.S. District Court Judge Beryl Howell wrote, quote, "As a global pandemic poses widespread health risks, guaranteeing that government officials at both the federal and state levels have the flexibility to address the nutritional needs of residents and ensure their well-being through programs like SNAP is essential," they wrote. In immigration news, New York City Congressmember Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez confronted an ICE agent at LaGuardia Airport who helped transport 6 immigrant children from Texas to New York amidst the pandemic. The Congressmember intervened after immigrant rights group New Sanctuary Coalition sounded the alarm on the transportation of minors. Senator Bernie Sanders and former Vice...
Well, if we get too much political bahooey, that's why I only watch a little of this station. You guys are more than welcome to. I used to watch more of it, but she started becoming one of the ones that want to fight all the time. And they want to start the war. And I'm trying to tamp down the war, brothers and sisters. We are the 99, Team 99. 99%. If you're not a 1%, you're the 99%. I can't say it too much. And with that, I'm going to end this video because I want to start another one. The video after this is going to be some very strange stuff on other views on where this came from, what happened, and whatever. So tune in next, and healthcare sucks. Over and out.